So yesterday was non-farm payroll Friday, first Friday of every month, and we usually can get a really good trading opportunity. So this Friday, we didn't get really anything on the U.S. Non-farm payroll number. What's the reason for that? Well, even though the lightning bolt, there's a max deviation on the U.S. average hourly earnings and the average earnings year on year and month, there was a conflict because the actual private payrolls and the non-farm payrolls were lower than expected. So whenever you see a conflict in numbers, it's a little harder to trade it. What we want to see is everything in the same direction. So these two numbers were green and you had a deviation, and then the revisions were green, but these here were red. So as a conflict, doesn't really work. However, if you look at the Canadian employment change, what do we see here? Revisions are green, so revisions are all in line. The employment change was 76, which was nearly above the high. So it was like 0.2 away from being over the high as a max deviation. Then what do we get on the unemployment rate? Well, we got a 6.6, which is a max deviation below. So everything was green here, which was good for the Canadian dollar. So what do you trade? Well, if you trade the dollar CAD, you have conflicting data that came out at the same time, right? Both at 8:30, you had US and, the Canadian dollar. So you want to choose a pair that just has nothing, that's not influenced by any US data. So if you look over at the pound CAD, it's a perfect example. Here we go. The news breaks, at 8:30 a.m. New York time. And look at all the time you have to get into this trade. You have a full minute, depending on where you got in. You let the volatility play out, full minute, you can enter right here. Look at all this space from the 178.15, all the way down to the 177.75, depending on how long you wanted to hold the trade, right? Price just sort of keeps falling. So that's an example of how to use a professional calendar. This extra data that you get is essential. It's critical to finding those high probability risk event trades.